Blowing simple, liberal minds with every idea. Critical thinking is his specialty. Dillon Atkins.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, how's it going? I'm Dillon Atkins. I'm happy to have you here. Please get in contact with me on dillonforamerica@gmail.com. I'm sure it'll come up on the screen at some point in time during this podcast here. All right. Do you think your voice matters? Do you think that your voting voice, your opinion, your ideas, all that stuff, do you think it matters when it comes to the city you live in, the state you live in, and of course the country that you live in? Do you think it matters? Do you think that you have any say of anything that goes on in this country in terms of the voting, the leadership, and such things like that? See, there's a lot of people, especially after the last elections that Obama won here, that think that their voice doesn't matter because he won. And as we know, we've seen the numbers. It's not disputed. It was right there on the TV screen on the night of the election that he did not win the popular vote, but he did win the Electoral College. See, so a lot of people think that their voice doesn't matter because it goes on the Electoral College. But see, that isn't true. Well, I mean, it is true that it does go based on the Electoral College, but the the popular vote determines the Electoral College to a certain extent. See, the Electoral College kept Al Gore from getting in office. You know, sadly, it kept Mitt Romney from getting in office this past time. But the thing is, your voice does matter. A lot of people think that, well, out of millions of Americans, why does my one voice matter at all? Well, let me tell you why. Because if a certain group of people, I'm not going to name names, okay, yes I am, the Democrats, if they think that they can get you to think that your voice doesn't matter, then you're not going to vote. If you keep it at one person, that's not bad. Okay, that doesn't matter much. It does matter because they're trying to subliminally take away your right to vote in that way, but you're kind of thinking you're taking it away from yourself. But the thing is, if they can get you, if they can get your neighbor, if they can get a family member, if they can get this person and that person and that person, and it keeps rolling over, and that idea keeps building up like a snowball, then all of a sudden you have a big number of people that are not going to vote. They're not going to vote. But when you get a mass number of people that are dedicated to one particular party that is opposite the Democratic Party, then that makes a big difference, because then the majority of the people voting are going to be Democrats, are going to be liberals. Not all Democrats are liberals. I've said that before. But then if they can get a lot of people that are more conservatives to think that their voice doesn't matter, then the majority of people voting are going to be liberals, Democrats. And then you end up with what we have. So your voice does matter. It matters immensely. Because if you vote, and then again, another guy down the road votes like you do, and then a family member votes like you do, a guy at work votes like you do, some guy across the country votes like you do, then you have a number of people. See, it's not about your individual voice. It's about a collective voice. It's like a choir. See, when you have one person singing, it can sound great. It can sound really, really good. But when you get an enormous choir all together, a big number of people singing, and they're singing in one voice, it comes out amazing, big, strong, multi-layered differences in every little piece, but it comes together to make one big piece. That's what voting is like in America. We have to use our singular voice, join in the big choir to make a big voice, to make a difference somewhere else. That's what it's set up like. We can have individual impacts. That's not the point. We can. We can go to our representatives. That's what they're there for. Well, I say we can. For some reason now it seems like we can't. But we still can. We can back them in a corner. And figuratively, don't actually do that. But we can figuratively back them into a corner and tell them what's going on. Put an issue in front of them and tell them to address it. I'm so tired of hearing people say my voice doesn't matter. Why should I vote? My vote doesn't matter. Yes, it does. And you know what's funny? The people who say that the most are the people who complain the most about what's going on. If you're complaining about what's going on and you didn't vote to keep it from happening, then shut up. You have no place to make that argument because you had no dealing in stopping it. See, this Common Core issue that's coming on right now, I'm working really hard to keep it from happening. I'm campaigning with a guy named George Berry right now in Madison, Alabama here that is running on stopping Common Core because it needs to be stopped. I was at an event, the Stop Common Core tour is touring Alabama here, and it came through Madison, and we stopped, they stopped here, and we were there, and a ton of pictures of it on my Facebook page, and George was there, and he spoke, and we're doing what we can to stop this. We're electing people to stop this. See, that's where your voice comes in. When you elect the people to stop what you don't like. And again, when it comes to immigration, we're trying to stop this. We're sending letters to our representatives. We're going to their offices and talking to them and trying to figure out what it is they need to know to make the decision that we want them to make. They might not always make the decision we want. You know, there's a consensus that the majority of the people always go one direction. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's 50-50. And guess what? Then it is left up to the representative. That's their job. That's why you want to elect somebody that aligns themselves with, or that you want to elect somebody that believes what you believe. Because then if they make a decision, it's probably going to be what you believe. But see, when it comes to a democracy like what we have, when it comes to a republic, you're not always going to be happy with the outcome. You're not always going to be satisfied with how things are going. But that is okay, because you still have a voice to go out there and say, I don't like what's going on, I want to change it. And that is perfectly okay. Go out there and change it. Make a difference. See, America, we have been given an opportunity here to have more power, more influence over our government than any other nation that has ever been thought of in the history of the world. I'm about to say the history of the United States, and that would have been funny. But I did not. But we have to get over this idea that my voice doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count. Because for you to complain, you need a vote. You need to have a say. Then you can complain. Then you have a right. But if you don't, then you don't. It's about the collective here. It's about the bigger voice making the bigger difference. There have been cases, and they've been widely talked about, especially on like Facebook and Twitter and such, of one person making a huge difference. You know why those people get so much attention? Because it doesn't happen that often. But what does happen often is a big voice, a big group of people making one giant voice, making a big difference. Or sometimes a little difference. But the fact is, when it comes to America, we have the right to talk to people, like I'm doing right now to you, to talk to people and try and persuade them to see things the way you see them, to get them to believe the way you believe. And then get all those people together and say, now let's go do something. Let's go make a difference. Let's go change what we don't like. See, there's a big movement right now, and I'm really excited. There's a big movement right now of younger, conservative people starting to run for office. When I say younger, they're still older than I am, but, they're starting to run for office. You know what that shows me is that there is a bedrock of people in this nation that are actually believing in what America was founded on. They don't believe in political correctness. I do believe in being polite. Every now and then I'm not. If you get me really ticked off, I'm probably not going to be that nice. But the thing is, we have the ability with these people that are coming up, to make a real difference. To say what it is that's on our minds, to tell it like it is, and to actually do something that actually means something. And I tell you what, I am the next generation here that is coming up to take the leadership of this country. And let me tell you, no matter what you've heard, no matter what you think, there is a huge number of people in my age bracket here in this country that love this country dearly, that love the people in it, and they will not let this country fall under their watch. But see, the problem is we got so laxed over time, we got so just, everything's all right, for so long that we started falling asleep. The people did. You and me, we kind of fell asleep and said, well, I mean, everything's going pretty good, We got a military that protects us. We got a government that watches out for us. We're good. We kind of set back, and then the libtards got their way in there. They started taking a foothold here and a handhold there, and they started getting a word in there, and they started poking little holes in that and slashing holes in that, and then they started grabbing that, then they started pushing that, then they started blowing that up, and then next thing you know, we're sitting there going, what happened? Well, it happened slowly, but we didn't notice it. We didn't notice it because we got complacent. But now, now we're starting to wake up. We're starting to see it. The giant of this country, the giant is starting to be woken up. The people. And you can always tell when somebody is scared when the giant starts to wake up because they start making excuses. Maybe this will remind you. I saw it on the news. I'm just as mad as you are. That was Obama on the VA scandal that's just now coming out. Now, what has he said about just about every single scandal? Well, I saw it the same way you did in the newspaper. Well, I saw it on the news. And then he always does the double talk. The point here is we need to do what it takes to bring these people to justice. Yeah, it's been 2 years. That still hasn't happened. That'd be Benghazi, by the way. But here's the thing. He always says the buck stops here, but somehow it always slips through his fingers. To me, when someone says the buck stops here, that means I am going to do whatever it takes to find out how this happened, and if it ends with me leaving, then so be it. But this is my administration. This is my responsibility. I am responsible for everything that goes on in this, and if I am not competent enough to know what's going on, then I don't need to be here. But some people are just too vain to notice that. They like the position of power. They like the position of money. And if you think Obama hasn't made money as president, well, you're not paying much attention now, are you? But, see, that's okay. All this stuff, it's okay. It sounds bad to say it, but it is okay because we still have a chance. We still, as a people, have a responsibility to this country to uphold it, to protect it. So we have a military that protects us from the people outside, but we have a people, a group of people, you and me, to protect this country here on the inside. So you can picture it like this. You have a military that encircles the United States and it faces outward. Then you have everybody milling around inside of it, taking care of the inner workings, the inside, making sure that it stays the way it's supposed to stay. But you don't do that. You can't do that unless you vote. You have to vote. You have to get active. You have to make decisions and get out there and tell people what you think. If you don't, then don't gripe when it doesn't go the way you want it to, because you didn't make a difference to go otherwise. So either stand up and make a difference, stand up and make your voice heard in some capacity, or just be quiet and let whatever happens happen, and don't complain about it if it doesn't go the way you want it to.